here and supporting our parent education program. This is Lori Getz. She is cyber safety, cyber education guru. I've seen her speak several times here and other schools. And I have a lot of respect for the knowledge that she has to share with all tonight. And without further ado, please do your thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Short and sweet. I love it. My name is Lori Getz. I am an internet safety, security, and ethics specialist. I've been doing this for about 12 years now. Can you believe how far we have come in just over a decade? Where even though we still are I'm going to address issues related to predators tonight, but most of us are dealing with something very, very different. Yes? What are we dealing with? Issues related to screen time, relationships, yes? Being ignored by our children because of the devices, yes? And so it's really kind of the landscape of all of this has changed. Now I should tell you, I'm a mom, which I think is probably my most important credential. I have a 4-year-old, a 9-year-old, and I have a 23-year-old in my house. My 23-year-old is not biologically mine. She's my adopted child. However, she has been with me for many, 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 many years. And my mantra in my house is fair doesn't mean equal. It means everyone gets what they need. Because when you've got 4, 9, and 23, as I can tell some of you have elementary, middle, high school, the rules are totally different at these different ages. And sometimes we try and make everything equal, when really we can't. If you came here tonight because you were hoping to get one step ahead of technology with your children, I'm really sorry, I can't do that. And the reason is because they decide what's trending, not us. It's like slang. And even the most tech-savvy parent, which I consider myself to be, will never use technology the same way our children do. And so it's not about knowing what's the next app that's going to be coming out that I need to be looking at, and more about how do we make sure the rules we have in the physical world match the rules that we have in the digital world. How do we focus on behavior? The first thing I need to do is I've got to dispel some myths, because there's way too many people that still think that if you keep your name, address, and phone number off the internet, that that's going to keep you safe. I was just at an elementary school today where I had a group of parents telling me, no, we don't want the school putting our children's pictures up on the school website because some predator is going to see a picture of our child and come and get them. In all the years I have been doing this, that is not what we see happen. Online predators do not just see a picture of a child and then go and find their name, address, and phone number and show up at their house. They don't. What they do is they groom children. And middle school and high school students are the perfect age for this. Because what they do is they find a connection. Our kids, so many of them, have decided that the more followers they have or the more likes they get, the more popular they are. And so therefore they start to derive their self-worth from this. And what they're really doing without realizing it is waving their arms going, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And eventually someone's gonna look. And what is your child going to do when they've attracted that attention? Internet safety is not about trying to keep your name, address, and phone number off the internet. It's about teaching your child how to not draw too much attention to themselves, and that they shouldn't be cultivating relationships with people they don't know and hide it from you. I get it, but it doesn't matter. They're only 11. So here we've got Thomas Blue. Thomas Blue. When you created this screen name, you had to give, was it Club Penguin? Yeah, okay. When you had to give Club Penguin a real piece of information in order to verify you are that person, what was that piece of information? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Parents' email.
Parents, my email?
An email address. Well, it was maybe your parents, maybe it was yours. It doesn't matter. Your whole family gets all wrapped up together. So you took your screen name and attached it to a real email address, packaged those up together, and threw them into the vortex. Your email address, ladies and gentlemen, what's that attached to?
Everything.
Right. So usually your first name, your last name, the city and town you live in, and what happens if you ever forget your password? What will they do? Security questions and your cell phone number. Right? They can text it to you. So now you've taken all of this information and thrown it all into the vortex together. When you search something on Google, Bing, or Yahoo, can you private browse and clear your history from those search engines? No, not at all. So all of your searches get thrown into the vortex too. What about your shopping? The things you buy on Amazon? Or even look, well, those are your searches, right? But everything you buy, all of the things that you buy, now they're not going to sell your credit card information, but they're definitely going to sell what it is you bought. What about pictures on Instagram or Snapchat? How many of you, do any of you have Instagram? No? Do any of you have Snapchat? How many of your children have Snapchat accounts? Okay, or Twitter, or Tumblr, or Vine, or YouTube. Then none of them use Facebook. Maybe your seniors are still using Facebook. Do you actually use it, or do you just have it?
No, I use it.
Oh, okay. Like, you're one of the few.
Yeah.
Everything's like Snap Story now, right? Yeah. Except I can't stand it when my 23-year-old sends me a Snapchat and puts it on her Snap Story. Like, I don't need to see it in both places. You're the only one in the room who gets this, but thank you for laughing. Okay. So, everything that we buy, but your pictures. Now, it's not necessarily the photos themselves. It's not that Instagram, they did for a while take your photos and sell them to other people, but then the Kardashians got all upset about it and said, please don't do this, or we're going to shut down Instagram, and they have enough followers that they could have. So instead, they just look at the content of the pictures, and they sell that information and throw it into the vortex.
You mean the content?
So if you take a picture and you post it on Facebook and you're standing in front of Walmart, Facebook will sell your information to Walmart saying you would be interested in purchasing something from Walmart. Have any of you ever been on Amazon and you were looking for something and then you went back and you went away and you came back a few days later and you looked at it and now it costs more money?
Yeah.
Okay? What you're willing to spend gets thrown into the vortex. If you ever donate to a political campaign, that gets thrown into the vortex. Do you see where I'm going with all of this? Okay? Is all of this the fact that Google and Yahoo and Bing and your iTunes purchases, all the apps you buy, every inappropriate thing you've ever asked Siri to do, like where do I hide a dead body, all of that stuff, is that all dangerous to your physical, personal safety? Say no.
No.
No. Is it possibly dangerous to your sense of privacy?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? How do you feel? Okay, I gotta ask the students that are in here. Sorry. How do you feel about that?
Oh no, don't really care.
Great. Thank you.
If you're over 35, you care. Maybe over 40, you care. And if you're under, you just don't even think about it.
Well, honestly,
It's kind of scary.
this doesn't bother me.
Wow.
Okay? Here's why. This doesn't bother me because I make a conscious choice every single time I use a service, understanding that I'm giving up my right to privacy. Because I read the terms of service. Even on Xbox, you know Microsoft sells all your information from your audio chats on the audio console. Right? So I make a choice. Listen, I love Amazon Fresh. Amazon Fresh is great. I hate that they won't go out to Oak Park. But before I lived in Oak Park, when I was in Woodland Hills, they delivered all my groceries to me. So does the vortex know that I like organic carrots? Yes, and I get a ton of advertisements for organic carrots. That doesn't bother me. But what I won't do is I choose not to use some third party like Canadian prescription company because I don't want that information getting thrown into the vortex. I just don't know what they're gonna do with it. So it doesn't bother me either because I make choices about what I put in there. Does that make sense? We need to redefine the word privacy. That's where we need to start. Sorry. But part of it is being able to control who sees what, how much they see, how much they know, and how far that goes. Have you ever had a conversation with someone that started, don't tell anyone, but, and then you proceeded to tell them something private because you're trying to control how far that information goes. Imagine if instead of us as parents talking about, you can't put that up there. Maybe grandma will see it. It's inappropriate. No inappropriate pictures, but are you willing to give up control over your thoughts, your feelings, your body in this moment? You good with that? Because if you're not, do not post it. They forget that when they share something with someone else, they give those people control over what happens to that information. I see so many teenagers that tell me, but I've got a private Instagram account, so I'm safe. They're missing the bigger picture here. And the bigger picture is, the minute you post it, you give control to all those people. Do you trust every single one of those people? And Natalie reminded me of something that I used to say, and I have not said in a long time. But for me, Facebook, Instagram, anyone who follows me, anyone who's in my network of friends, I would invite you to my dinner table if I'm going to have you within my network of friends. Because I'm only willing to give up control over things to people that I truly trust, that I would want at my dinner table. That works for us as adults, does not work for our high schoolers. It doesn't. And so we, as much as I love what I used to say, it doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. It did 5 years ago. But at this point in time, what we really need to be talking about to our kids is, what are you sharing? Doesn't even matter who all sees it, but are you okay with even one person having this? It has to do with attention. We need to help them, bring them back a little bit, and start to kind of look at why they're doing the things that they are doing. Why are they choosing to share the things they're sharing, post the things they're posting, communicate the way that they're communicating? Why? A lot of it has to do with the fact that they are looking for peer esteem. They're looking for other people to like their photos to make them feel good about themselves. And this is not a healthy way to feel good about yourself. Not at all. But we really need to talk about their intentions. And instead of us going to this place of that's an inappropriate picture, it's got to be, why post this? What kind of attention are you looking for? What do you hope to derive from this? My niece Emily, who I love, she's like the best kid. She's 15. She's this tall. She's an amazing soccer player, and she won the state championship. And so we took a picture, and she's holding the trophy. And next to her in this picture, I look like I'm 3 feet tall. And so we posted it on Instagram, and it was like, yay, good for you. And I was so excited about it. It was really a shareable moment, something worth putting out there. By the time I got home to show my girls the picture, it was gone. And so I texted Emily and I said, what happened to the photo? She said, it didn't get enough likes, so I took it down. I was devastated. Not that I didn't get enough likes, but that it was more important for her to get those likes than it was for us to be able to kind of share this moment. My grandmother, so Emily's great-grandmother, who unfortunately we lost this week, she, at 91 years old, was on Instagram and followed all 27 of her great-grandchildren. And so for Emily to take down that photo was really kind of one of these moments where I'm like, well, is this because you feel good about something or because other people make you feel good about it? So the next question that we need to ask our kids is, what's a healthy way to feel good about yourself? That's where this conversation really starts. We need to be able to ask our children this question, right? That's where this all starts. It all has to do with confidence, and it has to do with self-esteem, and it has to do with them understanding that it's okay to get attention for when you do certain things. I love my 9-year-old's answer to her favorite type of attention is when she does something and she wasn't even trying to get my attention and I give it to her. Because she's that kid that's like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And so sometimes when she just does it and I notice, she's like, oh, that was the best. And we all kind of crave that. We all want to be recognized for the good things we do. And unfortunately, with things like Instagram and Vine and Twitter and YouTube and Tumblr, we can shove it in people's faces. But is that actually healthy for us? Not really.
It's always done.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to say this though. I like Instagram. I like Vine. I like Tumblr. I like Twitter. I like Facebook. I like YouTube. I love all these things. I really, really do. I love that I have access to information. I love that I can communicate with my children. The fact that I was able to FaceTime with them before I started tonight and say good night and I love you is hugely important to me. The fact that I was able to send photos of my kids to my 91-year-old grandmother who couldn't leave her room, I love that. I love that she was able to kind of stay involved in our children's lives in that way. So there is a time and a place for everything. But the question after what kind of attention do you want and how do you feel good about yourself is then, this is the next question. What makes something worth sharing online and how are you going to do it? If I'm going to send my husband a message to tell him I love him, I'm going to do it through iMessage, not through Instagram or put it on Vine. I'm not going to do like a little 6-second, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. That doesn't need to happen. And so it's about the right time, the right place, the right tool. Can anyone tell me a good reason to use, so again, I'm turning it around, can anyone tell me a good reason to use social media?
To promote an event like this?
To promote an event, absolutely. What else, Gina?
know about someone.
To know about someone. Yeah, do you have cousins far away that you keep in touch with like this? Absolutely. What else? News, for sure. My sister-in-law says that it's not real news unless it's on Facebook. That's where she gets all of her news from. Absolutely. What else?
I think being able to communicate with people that you know around the world is a huge plus.
Yeah.
And to find out what's happening,
Yeah.
you know, everywhere.
Right. Okay, so then the question is, what's a shareable moment? To me, I will not share my vacation status while I am on vacation. I will not do that. It's because when I was a kid, I learned you didn't leave an outgoing message that said, "Hi, this is the Roman family, no one's home, please come rob our house." That's what I was taught. So by today's standards, I also don't, if we go on vacation, I don't post a whole bunch of pictures while I'm on vacation and let people know there's no one home. There used to be a website called pleaserobme.com that took people's public vacation status feeds with a Google Earth map and showed them how to get to your house while you weren't there. Okay?
They're saying now people are using the drones to do this as well.
Yeah, you've got all sorts of technology. We don't need to advertise it even more. The other problem with taking photos, too many photos while on vacation and posting them while on vacation, is because your children will start to document the vacation rather than enjoy the vacation. Right? So we don't want a situation where all they're doing is taking picture after picture after picture, but instead, take a picture, enjoy it, then put it away, decide to post it later, and then enjoy whatever it is you're doing. Basically, okay, so you want to discourage them from using apps that purposely want them to be anonymous so that they can harass other people, okay? You want them to be aware of apps that locate, meaning make sure that if you've got something that's checking you in all these places and letting everyone know where you're going, that's not really something that they need to be doing. So you want to be conscious of the locating services. Apps that encourage them to be mean. You know, ones where you can take somebody's face and you can kind of distort it and then push it out to a whole bunch of people. And then disappearing apps. So things like, you know, the newest one is the calculator with the percent sign rather than the equal sign, which is a secret folder for photos that they can then share with other people. Okay, so there's, it looks like this.
There's lots of them now.
There's so many, but it's like a plus sign, a minus sign, this, and then it's a percent. And normally the calculator has an equal sign here, but the one that has a percent, you type in like a decimal point, a 4-digit code to the decimal point, and it opens up a secret folder. But the truth is that as soon as I say this, something else is going to come up. You know, with high school students, you are not going to be able, at this point in time, take their device and know absolutely every single thing that they have on it and look at all of the people that they're talking to and everyone in their network. At some point in time, they get in a car when they're 16 and they drive off and you cross your fingers and you say, "I did the best I could. I hope it goes well." But that doesn't ever mean that we stop asking, where are you going? Who are you going with? What time are you coming home? What are you wearing? We don't stop asking them questions. So when I talk about these things that you should be aware of, what needs to happen for your high school students is you need to just have honest conversations with them. Are you using anything? Are you doing anything that could be construed as being mean or doing anything that could be construed as illegal? Are you giving up too much control of your thoughts, your feelings, your body? Those are a whole lot more important for high school than trying to keep up with all of this. Middle school, very different story. In middle school, how do I say this? middle school is a process, and you just need to get through it. Middle school students have this crazy thing that's going on. So I think I said in the beginning, my undergraduate work was in neuroscience, my graduate work was in technology. And one thing I can tell you is at the onset of puberty, when kids start puberty, the limbic system, which is responsible for driving emotions, becomes incredibly strong, and those connections are really, really strong. And so every single thing they say and do is driven by what they want. There is no ability to impose reason, logic, or impulse control at this point. That part of the brain, the frontal lobe, isn't fully developed until they're in their mid-20s. Now it starts to get better as they kind of get to the other side of puberty and they're in the thick of it. They are able to start making those connections in the frontal lobe and kind of putting reason and logic on top of what it is that they truly want. And so middle school students, believe it or not, probably need more supervision than even elementary school students. Does that mean you should be reading every one of their text messages? No. No, you really shouldn't. Should you check in? Should you look over their shoulder? Should you ask them who they're texting with? Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. And if you have any reason to believe that there is something wrong with your child, then you do whatever you have to do to know whatever you need to know. However, I have a friend who called me, and she has a 16-year-old daughter, and she said, Lori, I need to know how to get all of my daughter's text messages. I've got to be able to read every single one of them. I just found pot in her car. And I said, why do you need to read her text messages? You just found pot in her car. You know that something is going on. And so what we want to do is we need to really focus on, has their behavior changed? Is there something different about them that wasn't like this a week ago? And if we can kind of, I said this earlier, but I'm going to say it again, I tell my kids on a regular basis that I trust them 92.6%. And the other 7.4% is where they're really hugely going to screw up, and I'm still going to love them. Because if I tell my kids I trust them 100%, and I'm not going to check in on you, and I'm not going to look at these things, and it's all you, and I totally trust you, then when they screw up, because it's not if they screw up, when they screw up, because that frontal lobe is not fully developed, they're not going to want you to know, because that idea that you will be so disappointed in them is too overwhelming for them to be honest about what happened. It's on the child, but in some situations, yes, it may not be appropriate for certain 13-year-olds to have Instagram. If they have no impulse control, if their whole feeling of self-worth is derived by the number of likes they get or the number of followers they have, no, they may not be ready for it. I had a parent say to me today, a middle school parent, who said, you know, my child won't give me their password. And so I don't know what to do because my child will not give me their password. And this was a middle school student. This was a 7th grade student. And my feeling is if they're not willing to give you the password, then they just don't get the device.
Exactly.
Like it just, for me, in my house, that's just kind of it. I don't care if they throw a tantrum. I don't care if they say they hate me. There's obviously, they don't trust me. And that's a problem. And so before I can give them this device, my child and I have to rebuild the trust here and figure out what's going on. I do think, hang on one second and I'll come to you, but I really do, and this is for everyone in here, the one thing I would ask you to do is if your child, as they get into high school, if you have college-age children as they get older, your spouses, your significant others, everybody should write down every account they have, all the usernames and all the passwords, and seal them in an envelope and make them available. God forbid I don't make it home after tonight. The first thing my husband's going to do is go look at my Google Calendar to find out where I was. Then he's going to go into my email to find out if I said I was going to go meet somebody for a late dinner and forgot to tell him. If he can't get quick access, that's a huge problem. As your children get older, they become thought of as runaways before they're missing people. If, God forbid, something happens to one of your children and you can't get quick access to their devices and to their accounts, this is going to put you way further behind than you want to be.